From the Cactus, KCTS-FM Phoenix, I'm Jamison Greenwood with Greenwood & Company. Well, I hope everybody's been having a good week and is ready to decompress. We're already on our 20th episode of this podcast, Greenwood & Company, which is really exciting for me. Also have some news which is bad but not too bad. This episode is actually our season finale. We're going to be taking a bit of a hiatus from Greenwood & Company. You'll have to listen to all the other wonderful, splendid programs we have on the Cactus, KCTS. But we will be resuming in September and have a whole new season. Remember, we'll get back in touch with all of our favorite characters, Theo Taylor, Grammy Benson, the folks at Beck's Coffee Shop, the lovely Annabelle. I'll have plenty of stories for you all about them. But in the meantime, I wanted to end the first season with a subject that could be really fun and a talk of something that could be really fun. One thing that I really enjoy is trains, and I actually had the opportunity once. I was thinking about when we in the Beck's Coffee Shop gang got to go to Santa Barbara on the train, but let's just say Annabelle and I ran into just a little bit of trouble. Beside his passion for reptiles, which he used in his day job as curator of the Avondale Zoo's reptile house, my father's other passion was always trains. He spoke fondly of his experiences as a child, riding passenger trains from his home in Orlando, Florida, to visit his grandparents in Syracuse, New York. These trips faded out after he moved to Arizona to be with my mother, but he took his collection of toy trains to the Grand Canyon State with him and expanded upon it. Lionel Electric trains and other competitors were indispensable for Boomer-era children, and my father never let this aspect of his childhood die. The two-car side of our three-car garage always prioritized his GMC pickup truck and my mother's Mercury Grand Marquis, but the one-car side was practically inaccessible, save a workbench where my father repaired trains and other household equipment. This part of the garage was stacked with boxes and boxes filled with decades' worth of train locomotives and cars, tracks, transformers, model buildings, and supplies. He always spoke of wanting an elaborate train room like Disney animator Ward Kimball, but he was holding off until we could get a bigger house. The only times he ever set up anything elaborate with trains was a layout under or near the Christmas tree each winter, but I think this made them more special, and gave me a deeper attachment to my dad and to trains than I would have achieved otherwise. One of my favorite things about Pine Bow, Arizona is the sound of train whistles each day, stemming from the memories I built with my dad, which alleviated my homesickness when I first went up north to go to college. Then, one time, I was able to combine trains with one of my favorite things, the Episcopal Church. A few of the older grandpas that served as acolytes, ushers, and leaders of men's Bible study collected toy trains, but they were nothing compared with our chaplain Jorge. Ever the kid at heart, he not only set up a train beneath the church's angel tree, he even had a box of the old Thomas the Tank trains in his office, and sometimes even sported a Thomas t-shirt. Thus, when it came time for the provincial convention of the campus ministries in Santa Barbara, Jorge called for a vote. "Friends!" he called in his usual manner. "Jorge!" we all responded. "Friends!" he asked, "shall we travel to Santa Barbara via plane or train? Plane will get us there faster and give us more time, but train would be cheaper." Colton was all on board, as were Trevor and his girlfriend Alexis, but Annabelle and Heather were afraid of spending multiple nights there with no shower and the likely repulsive conditions of the train restrooms. "There will be showers provided at the church when we arrive. We will only be on the train overnight." Annabelle was looking at me, and I feared her hope was that I would vote plain, but her luscious lime-drop eyes must have detected an anxious puppy in my eyes. "Looks like you're the deciding vote, Jimmy," Jorge proclaimed. "Did you have your heart set on the train, Jimmy?" Annabelle asked. Having never gone on any vacation during my youth save car trips to Tucson and the Disney parks, and being the son of a train enthusiast, I voted train. I had always admired the sounds of their whistles and bells, writing about them in a number of poems, so I was determined to one day be part of one. "Excellent! Railroad it is!" exclaimed the chaplain. "On the Amtrak we'll go, the Southwest Chief to Los Angeles, the Pacific Surf Liner to Santa Barbara." The next Thursday afternoon I packed my Bible, Book of Common Prayer, school books, and journals, along with various T-shirts and cargo pants, into my American Tourister suitcase and walked to the chapel at St. Edward's Episcopal Church. For the occasion I wore my Disneyland Railroad T-shirt, which, while eccentric, seemed wrong not to wear. Once Colton, Heather, Annabelle, and the other members of the campus ministry arrived at the chapel, we walked to the adobe-styled Pine Bow train station and boarded the Southwest Chief for Los Angeles. Numerous East Coast tourists were reclined and falling asleep in the coaches, so once we established seats and placed our suitcases in the luggage racks, we walked to the cafe car where we could talk more freely and not throw off our biological clocks. Colton and I sat with Jorge and his wife Kelly in one booth, while Heather and Annabelle sat in a different booth with other girls from the campus ministry, some drinking bottles of Dos Equis or Modelo and discussing plans for the beach in Santa Barbara. Colton drank a Modelo while Jorge and Kelly were drinking Diet Pepsi, but feeling chills from the excitement of being on a train, I went to the counter at the lower level to purchase a cup of coffee. This was a mistake, as while I was able to rest during the overnight trek to Los Angeles, I was never able to fall asleep. Over the night I considered Annabelle and whether a perfect opportunity would come up to confess my feelings to her, or if she would be swept away from me by another Episcopal guy from a different campus ministry. The next morning I got up very much ready to sleep, since I hadn't gotten any sleep the night before, and got off the train with the rest of the crew to wait for the Pacific Surf Liner at Union Station in Los Angeles. In passing from platform to platform, I did admire the intricate Spanish tile and Art Deco styling of that Los Angeles landmark, but I continued to worry about Annabelle. But this time it was not because of my concern she would never fall for me, but because she suddenly seemed unwell. Her skin was always the color of fresh fallen snow, but it seemed to turn a souring shade of baby powder, and her lovely green eyes were bloodshot. She was moving slow enough that she fell behind the rest of us, and her cousin Heather slowed a bit to be by her side. Annabelle complained to her cousin that she felt tired, but she couldn't understand it as she had only drank one beer. I hope she doesn't get sick, I thought. I hope I don't do something that makes her sick. And while I really wish we could go ahead and board the train and talk about what happened next, we've reached the point where we have to take a short break. But when we come back, we will go on the train, and we will begin our journey to Santa Barbara. You are listening to Greenwood and Company on KCTS. If there's one thing that drives our mission, it's convenient values. You may be on your own long term, but in the short run, Hexagon Corporation will keep all our short-term, cost-effective promises to ensure we can ensnare your money. And in your backyard, we cut costs and create plenty of short-term jobs that make layoffs a snap. Even though most of our executives failed business math, increased profits at low costs are the 6 core values the Hexagon Corporation lives by, at least until we find a more lucrative solution. Even though at the end of the day we're trying to yank your dollars from under your feet, we'll always remember our 6 core values and make sure to practice them in every interaction with you. Even if we don't actually apply it toward what we're doing today, and even if the 6 core values are actually only 2 or 3. We don't care much about you, but we'll take care of you, mainly when we can make the big bucks. Hexagon Corporation. Yesterday, today, 6 sides. Yeah. Warning, any investment in Hexagon Corporation constitutes securities fraud and could put you in federal prison. And welcome back. You are listening to Greenwood and Company on the Cactus, KCTS. Now, before the break, we were just about to get on the Pacific Surf Liner to head to Santa Barbara, but Annabelle wasn't feeling so good. When we boarded the Pacific surfliner, which came north from San Diego, I took the window seat by myself and reclined it, hoping to be left alone. Then, as Heather and Annabelle came up the aisle, a familiar face asked me, "Jimmy, is this seat taken?" "Not at all," I replied to Annabelle, careful not to show too much enthusiasm. "You feeling a bit tired?" I asked once she'd sat and reclined her seat. "Yeah, I don't know what it was. That beer knocked out all my energy." "But you only had one, right?" I asked. Annabelle nodded. "I never have more than one beer at a time." The conductor called all aboard over the intercom, and the surfliner pulled out of Union Station, bound for Chatsworth, Santa Barbara, and all points north. As the train began to pull out, I tried to reassure Annabelle, "We've got time to rest. You should be fine." But as I was saying that, I, too, started to feel not very good. At first, I thought it was just tiredness, but as the train passed further and further along from L.A. to Santa Barbara, I began to feel more and more queasy and nauseated. Annabelle didn't complain much, but kept her head tilted back and occasionally moaned in agony. I had not had time for breakfast and began to think being hungry may be causing the illness, so I pulled a Nature Valley bar out of a stash in my backpack. "You want something to eat, Annabelle?" I asked. "It might make you feel better." "No, thanks, Jimmy," she moaned. "That's fine." I pulled the wrapping paper off as my stomach got queasier and queasier. When I saw the exposed peanut butter holding together the overprocessed nuts and oats, I decided I wasn't very hungry and returned the bar to my stash. When the train made its stop at the Chatsworth station, I was forced to take the opportunity to go to the restroom in hopes I could clear out whatever was irritating my digestive tract. While I was in the restroom, I feared a number of unfortunate outcomes with Annabelle. If we both remained sick, we'd miss the beautiful beaches of Santa Barbara and would have to stay confined to the back of the church. But what if one of us got better while the other remained ill? If she recovered, I'd be alone at the church, and she'd explore the beaches and cityscapes of Santa Barbara and fall for some guy from another campus ministry. If I got better but she stayed sick, I would accidentally say something that would cause her to vomit. Not only would this obliterate any prospects of us becoming a couple, but it might even dissolve our friendship. As it happened, I didn't have any violent upheavals while I was in the restroom, and returned to my seat where Annabelle remained with her head tilted back, her mouth open, and her eyes closed, trying to find some way to get better or to die. Not wanting to disturb her, or my digestive tract, I sat back as carefully as I could. Though Annabelle's happiness was lacking, she gave a slight motherly smile as she asked, "Did you barf, Jimmy?" I assured her I had not, taking a pleasure in the care behind her luscious green eyes. Soon after, the chaplain, who'd been watching us from a few rows down, gave us a quizzical look. "Annabelle, Jimmy," he asked, "did you guys just start to feel sick when you got on this train?" "Yes," I replied. "You know," Annabelle added, "you're right." Jorge then pointed out we were sitting in the opposite direction of the train's travel, which neither of us paid any attention to. "I think you guys have motion sickness," he said. "Come and sit on this side." Jorge and Kelly, whose seats were facing toward the direction of travel, agreed to switch seats with us. Thus Annabelle and I felt instant relief. I wasn't sure if I should say this, but I turned to the lovely girl beside me and said, "I don't think we're going to barf, Annabelle." She gave me a soft, girlish giggle. Upon arriving in Santa Barbara, we first went to the Trinity Episcopal Church, where we dropped off our bags. While some of the other crew went out to get lunch, Annabelle and I sought out a pair of pews on which we rested with our pillows and sleeping bags. That trip to Santa Barbara was filled with the sounds of four-part harmonies on Love Divine, All Loves Excelling, and other favorite hymns, plus the sight of the sunsets over the ocean and the gentle chill of the sea air. But for me, the most beautiful sight was the one in a pew of that church. When I first began to feel well enough to go join my friends for snacks in the church courtyard, I rose from my pew and saw Annabelle resting, her lemonade hair slinking up her pillow above her head like a mermaid's beneath the ocean. I couldn't see her green eyes, only separated by the mascara-covered lids blanketing them like velvet sheets, but found warmth in a slight smile of her raspberry-colored lips, hopefully feeling better from her illness. Then, like the Princess Aurora in Disney's Sleeping Beauty, her eyes opened. Not wanting her to know I was staring, I whipped a hymnal out of the pew rack in front of me and turned to the first hymn available. "What you doing, Jimmy?" Annabelle asked like a snooty mother. "Oh, nothing, Annabelle. Just looking at the hymnal." And then I realized that I was holding the hymnal upside down. You are listening to Greenwood and Company on KCTS. A bad cough never comes at the right time. And it always brings its junk with it. Congestion, sore throat, aches and pains. If a bad cough and his posse won't accept your polite requests for them to leave, kick them out with force by using Gulliver's cough syrup. Our blend of Laputan berries and TNT blows out every obstruction, erases your cough, and maybe your entire head. Side effects may include burning in the mouth, perpetual nosebleeds, and dreams involving crushing of Lilliputians with truck tires. That stubborn hacking's no match for Gulliver's cough syrup. Your friend, your cough's mortal enemy, maybe yours too. Gulliver's cough syrup is a product of the St. Petersburg Coffee and Tea Company of Hannibal, Missouri. Support for Greenwood and Company is also provided by the Society for Cats with Mathematics Test Anxiety, the Folding Chair Charitable Trusts, and the Used Car Salesman Plaid Sport Coat Foundation. Well, I wanted to make sure to let you all know that this is the season finale of Greenwood and Company. We've already come to the end of our first season. We're definitely not giving up. We're just stopping for a while, but we'll resume this program again on September 25th, I believe it is, the last Saturday in September. But even though I'm not going away forever, I'm still a bit sad to be finishing this up. So I had trouble finding an appropriate poem, but given the theme of railroads and the season coming to an end, I wanted to share the tragic story of the founder of Beck's Coffee Shop. This is my poem, The Ballad of Mr. Beck. In the year of our Lord 1947 came a pair of young men all dressed up to look sporty, to our state, Arizona, its country of pines, where they started in college and hoped that they'd find a way to make money, sustainment for life, and after 4 years of study and strife, they got their degrees, down the street did they clop, to start that great jazz spot, Beck's Coffee Shop. They developed their menu, the coffee and scones, and before long they prospered and found they had grown. To support local jazz, the musicians would come, and would play on their saxophones, trumpets, and drums. Now the first man named Ibsen grew tired of the business and wanted to sell out their shares to get riches. But the second man, Beck, was content with the joint, and though Ibsen tried hard, Beck did not get the point. Beck was happy to be here. He had family and friends. He wanted to stay with the shop till the end. Mr. Beck couldn't see why his friend would give up all this heart-pounding music, the Joe in a cup. Ibsen tried and he failed to get Beck to sell out, then remembered that Beck never turned down a stout, so he got Beck a gift card he couldn't refuse, to the tavern called Birch Tree, an evening of booze. Mr. Beck stopped at Birch Tree and ordered a Guinness, then decided to give up his share of the business. Ibsen gave him the money, he had some more drinks, and Beck's sense of awareness, it started to sink. Mr. Beck then got up to walk home in the dark, but was so drunk he failed to notice the spark of a freight train then coming from out in the night. The engineer saw and received quite a fright. His jaw dropped, he reached and he slammed on the brakes. He struggled to stop, but 'twas simply too late. Mr. Beck looked up as he shrugged both his shoulders when the train plastered him like a 1,000-ton boulder. Mr. Beck left this world as result of that train, and all people that knew him were left with such pain. But his memory lives on in his business of drinks, When you sip Brubeck's coffee, 'tis of him you should think. That brings an end to this week's Greenwood & Company. Our show was created and hosted by yours truly and was written by him along with James Salison and Minnesota Martinez. The engineer is Ivan Crosby. Jonas Andrews answers the phones even though we don't take calls on this program. The theme was composed by Martin Landstrom, and our costumes are provided by Grandma's Garage Thrift Shop. All the characters, settings, and situations depicted in this program, along with all advertised products, are entirely fictional, and any similarities to products, events, or persons, living or dead, is entirely coincidental. Also, KCTS is not an actual radio station. Be sure to visit our website at JamisonGreenwoodPodcast.com to learn more about Greenwood & Company, and make sure to follow us on the podcast platform of your choice and share with your friends on social media. Just a reminder to please be careful if you are going out on the 101, the 17, or Route 66 tonight. I'm Jamison Greenwood, and until we meet again, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay young at heart. Good night. This is KCTS FM Phoenix. Stay tuned for Lacking in Substance.